Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
We are here.
We are here. Right here. Right here. Where? Don't know. But we here. And it's Sunday evening. That's right. And you're like, wait a minute. This ain't clickbait sports. No. No. Wait a minute.
No.
This is not just Tom Grossi. Nay. This is Brandon mother-loving Perna and Tom Grossi coming together once again to form a duo, a dynamic duo, if you will, to break down the absolute madness that has transpired over this past week, months, and what feels like years.
Feels like years.
Mr. Brandon Perna, I appreciate you being here today.
No, I appreciate you being
I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you.
But listen, let's jump right into this thing because I thought that this was going to be a nice weekend. I thought that this was going to be, I get to enjoy myself. I get to relax a little bit. And that has not occurred. That has not occurred at all. Starting with Davante Adams going, oh yeah, we're not talking to the Packers anymore. We're not gonna do that. I don't like them anymore. And then on top of that, you had a whole bunch of craziness occur when Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, they were basically saying, hey, listen, we love The Last Dance. That's all I'm interpreting from it. They just really like the documentary and they just got to it. That's the whole thing.
They're like, hey, man, this would be a really good time to remind people how much we liked this documentary, huh?
Really enjoyed it. Really. And the tight end, Robert Tonyan, got involved with it. Aaron Jones, our running back, got involved with it. So maybe they just had a watch party and no one else knew about it. That honestly, I think that makes the most sense.
They were training together. They were hyped about the doc and was like, yo, Jordan and Pippen, they were something.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I think that's the most honest explanation you can think of. And then on top of that, you had sportsbooks now saying that Aaron Rodgers is going to retire this week. You don't know if he's going to show up into training camp where veterans are supposed to report in 2 days on Tuesday. Those days. And if he doesn't, he misses $50,000 a day. Hell, even Deshaun Watson showing up.
Deshaun's got some other things he needs to pay for. He's got
some finances he's got to take care of in the lawyer department. But
it's like $50,000 a day. Oh yeah, that's what I'm paying my legal team right now.
Yeah, okay, all right. You know what? It's just gonna cancel itself out. It's a zero-sum end game. All right. So before we get started with anything, Brandon Perna, I just want to ask you a very simplistic question.
Sure.
From a fan who is not of the Green Bay Packers, and you do have some riding on it, obviously, because you're hoping that some way Aaron Rodgers makes his way there. But from a non-Packers perspective, you looking at the Green Bay Packers organization right now, the media firestorm that is surrounding them, what do you make of it? And just putting it all together, going, these are my initial thoughts of just seeing this plethora of news.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things, and I don't know which is true, okay? I think either the Packers are the Tom Brady's of organizations in that they have just been very lucky to have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back-to-back for a long time, okay? So that's 25 years of Hall of Fame QB play, and when you have that, it's pretty easy to run a football organization, in my humble opinion. And either these one of two things are true. One, the Packers are not running the organization very well at the moment. And based on what we know about why Rodgers wants out, you could argue there have been some gaffes, some mistakes along the way. Sure. I don't know if they're outside of the Jordan Love draft pick. I don't know if they're that much more egregious than what other organizations do, but it's either the Packers are just there. I always assumed it's a well-run, great organization. Guys want to play there. They're always competitive. But when the Hall of Fame quarterback wants out, then you start to question that stuff. And we have a well-documented list of Aaron Rodgers grievances.
Sure.
So there's that. Or Aaron Rodgers, impossible to please. Just tricky fella. A complicated
fella, according to
fella?
President and CEO Mark Murphy. Yes.
And I obviously we don't know who's more in the right. Usually when shit like this happens, there's some sort of middle ground there where, yeah, the Packers could be faulted for some stuff. Aaron Rodgers maybe being a bit of a diva about some other stuff, and they could all get along. Don't know. But I've been thinking, like, if Rodgers leaves, we're going to find out very quickly what your front office is like. I mean, when Manning left, I mean, Elway was on Rainbow Road, just shit and gold everywhere he went. Like, and he did some great things in free agency to build that defense to actually get the Super Bowl. But when you're searching for that quarterback, the criticism, the people like looking to the front office for scapegoats, the coaching staff starts revolving, like it gets a little crazy. So those are I know that's a little long-winded, but I've been thinking a lot about, like, I don't know what the Packers organization is without Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh.
I had a simple question for you.
Do it.
You can bounce off what I'm saying. I also want to know, like, if they're, referencing The Last Dance, we had Pippen and Jordan out there. Who's the Dennis Rodman of the Green Bay Packers?
I feel like that's David Bakhtiari, just because I see how he can chug a beer. Like, I feel like that man can party, but then he comes in and he's still amazing. He's like, I feel like he could do a keg stand like 2 minutes before the game and then just be like, let's go block some guys. Like, I feel like he could pull it off.
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I think that's pretty solid.
You can party all night and then come in and just be
like he could be at a Bucks game and come back and be like, I'm fine, guys. It's fine. And still be like an all-pro. So, in terms of what you said, I feel like, and this is something I really pushed back against because I had to do a video about this yesterday because everybody was freaking out about the Last Dance thing and stuff like that. And I am not a fan of this division that has occurred amongst the fan base, in which you're basically, like, the media is basically saying you can only pick one side. You're either pro Aaron Rodgers and pro football players and, that, or you're pro Green Bay Packers. And I'm like, but maybe it's not that black and white. Like you said, like maybe there, and not even maybe, like there were missteps and miscommunications from the front office, right, to Aaron Rodgers. And then you could also look at Aaron Rodgers and be like, maybe he's being super passive aggressive and petty. I mean, I was reading something yesterday that I think it was from Tom Silverstein, who was saying, like, all of this, like, media storm crap show that's going on, for Aaron Rodgers, who is constantly lambasted the media and is like, this is it's terrible, it's clickbaity, it's what have you. And I'm like, oh, great, he's a fan of the show. But that he basically, like, this is perfect for him because this is like getting so much negative attention towards the franchise and specifically the front office, that maybe he's like, this is what you get, right? Like, you reap what you sow kind of thing. So to kind of bounce off of that right now, in this court of like public opinion, from what you see as an outsider, who is winning kind of this PR battle? Like, do you see more like pro Rodgers or do you see more like pro front office?
I think Rodgers. I think it's really hard to win a PR battle as the organization. You know what I mean? Especially now where people have so much more access to information about players being screwed over all the time by their organizations. I think, sure, it might. I think it's made Rodgers more popular across the league because there's a handful of fan bases who think they can get him as their quarterback. I don't know anybody like that. I don't know anybody personally, but
that's why you're on here and you'd be like, Aaron Rodgers never did anything wrong. He's unless he resigns and he's like that diva piece of garbage.
Yeah, unless he goes to the Raiders, which there's a cautionary tale right there for you, Rodgers. Yeah, I think he's winning it. I think what's really interesting is like when a piece of news comes out, you see it tweeted, you follow it, you watch it, and then you'll catch somebody who is trying to tell you whether or not that was a piece of information leaked by Rodgers' side or by the organization side. Yeah. So like when it came out that Rodgers turned down the contract of being the highest paid player in football, What I heard was, oh, that's the Packers organization trying to tell fans that we offered him everything.
We did,
and then he was still pissed. So
yeah,
like, and I think there's some validity to the guys who work in that media circle that they know that stuff a little bit better than I do.
Sure.
Because I'm still gullible. Like when I read something, I'm like, oh, that's got to be correct. Like they wouldn't post it if it wasn't.
They wouldn't make that up. No,
they wouldn't make it up. And then, fool me once, fool me twice. You're going to keep fooling me again.
It's going to keep on going. It's
the song goes.
cyclical. Yeah. Well, to bounce off your point, and like we can kind of dive into this because I feel like that this is going to take up a good portion of this stream. Talking about how the media has handled this has been, I mean, I'll say it in terms of my opinion, like embarrassing, because I think that when Schefter first released that news, right, on draft day,
right,
and then like, what was it, the week after, he was like brought on a show, and whose show? Was it Bill Michaels' show? It was something like that. I did a whole video on it where he basically said, like, was there a breaking thing that, made you release this information? And he said, no. He's like, it was a culmination, right, of information. And so he just decided to release it on draft day, right? And so, like, immediately after that came out, a lot of people were like, oh, well, screw Adam Schefter. Like, there are many within the Packers fandom that are not fans of Adam Schefter. And to go on your point that you brought up, last week, Adam Schefter tweeted out that Aaron Rodgers was offered a 2-year extension and was going to make him the highest paid quarterback in the league. However, that was revealed back in March. Yeah. Like, that came out that he was offered an extension. We didn't know the logistics of it, but he was offered an extension, and he obviously turned it down because we're still dealing with this crap. And but it was passed off as new news. And I feel like that's been such a problem because you've had the Aaron Rodgers camp be relatively silent, from what we know of, unless there's like leaks that are going on, like you're talking about. And the Packers organization, besides Mark Murphy calling him a complicated fella, has basically just said, we're not going to trade him. We want him on the team. We want him to be our quarterback. And they've kind of like stood by that. So because both camps are remaining relatively quiet, it's just created this vacuum of like people who are so desperate for content and information regarding it. And then a whole bunch of like media pundits going, well, I will fill that void, and we have chaos.
Yeah, well, I think like the power that a guy like Schefter has is pretty crazy too, because like he tweets that out, and then the Packers got calls from teams on draft day to see if they were going to trade Aaron Rodgers. And I'm pretty sure we have learned that the Broncos officially made them some sort of trade offer on draft day, or
they picked up the phone and they were just like, hey.
Like, is this real? You guys taking deals? Like, what do we got to give you? Because we got some shit to give right now. And it would have made sense for the Packers to take advantage of what the Broncos had that day if they were ready to move on. But I think at that point, the Packers probably still believed that the situation wasn't as bad as it was being portrayed. As we get closer to training camp, I don't know. I go back and forth thinking like, oh, he's going to go back. He's not going to give up that much money. We're 2 days away now. And I thought it was, like you said, going to be a quiet weekend. I took the weekend off. I was like, went to my parents' house. We had like a birthday thing to go do. I was not going to work. And the whole time I'm just on my phone fucking refreshing Twitter over and over. Like, does something happen? Does something happen? And like, I thought we're going to get close and then it's just going to be Tuesday. He's either going to show up or not. But again, fool me, because tons of rumors, tons of things came out this week. And the sports book about him retiring this week was the big one. And I forget what I listened to. Maybe it was Wingo and Schlereth, but they were basically saying like somebody who was a source had the information that he was going to retire, told the sports book, and then all the sports books start running with it. And when sports books do, you pay attention because they're not in the business of losing their money.
Sure.
But also they're in the business of a bunch of people betting that he will retire and then he doesn't, and then they can make a lot of money.
Make a ton of money.
So it's like when you try to decipher this shit, the conclusion you come to every single time is we don't know. We do not know. Aaron Rodgers, I think, is the only person on earth who knows, including the Packers organization.
Sure.
And then we see Tuesday.
And that's what I think is crazy too. Like, so obviously these issues with Rodgers and the organization and him being vocal about it, at least to the organization, I mean, happened before draft day, right? And yet we didn't know anything. Like the public, the general public, because they were keeping it hush hush. They were keeping it in house. Goody flew out. Mark Murphy flew out. Matt LaFleur flew. Like they did all those things, right? I honestly am not even convinced that anything has changed from that time before draft day and to right now. Like it literally could be status quo still. It could be like, I'm disgruntled. I'm upset. Maybe I'll come back. Maybe I won't. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, but the problem is like you're talking about, and when, as soon as someone tagged me in the sportsbook thing, I retweeted it in all caps, like my father would, because he doesn't know how to use the internet, and basically said, this is not a source. Like, this is not someone who is like tied into the NFL, who is just like, Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. Like, now it became like a betting prop, which, like you said, like maybe, you know, someone told somebody and then that told everybody and it's a cascade. But at the same time, like, we're at the point now where I'm losing my mind because we are now deciphering sports books, Instagram posts, where Shailene Woodley retweeting Stephen A. Smith videos, and then Shailene Woodley's mom retweeting Stephen A. Smith videos. Like, this is the point that we've gotten to now. Yeah. And like, it's beyond ridiculous at this point.
I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers has changed Shailene Woodley's life a little bit. I can't imagine she had any interest in Stephen A. Smith before they started dating and got engaged. I just like to think of Stephen A. Smith finding a way into everyone's lives, no matter what. But you're right. Yeah, we don't know. We're 2 days away. We wanted to talk about it because so much had happened. I think the most interesting thing that was reposted was Aaron Rodgers' interview with Kyle Brandt from, I think it was last summer,
last summer. Yeah. Because that was his first big interview after the Jordan Love pick.
Yeah. And, you know, he basically spelled out that he's probably leaving the Packers then, in that he said, like, let's see, Kyle Brandt asked him, you know, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Do you think the Packers are going to move on from you or go with Jordan Love? And he said, you know, the latter or the former.
The former.
The former. He said the former, the one that means probably the shitty one for me.
Of course, yeah.
But I think that's when at least the idea entered everyone's brain that Rodgers could be in his final 2 seasons with the Packers.
Yes.
I think like anybody who follows football closely knew this was not an ideal offseason for the Packers to move on from Rodgers.
Correct.
Also, 2 years to develop the guy you went and traded up to get also makes a little more sense than 1 year. And so I thought there's a good chance Rodgers would be leaving after 2 seasons when the money penalty wouldn't be so big with their dead cap
anymore. Yep.
But yeah, then this offseason, that shit got crazy. And whether, like you said, like if anything was different, we don't know. I think probably just the way the Packers lost the NFC Championship game, in the way Rodgers kind of responded to that, gave the impression that he's ready to move on now if the Packers are. And what we've been waiting for is the Packers to say, yeah, okay, let's get max value for him and do it. But it hasn't happened. And now it's just Aaron Rodgers was tying his shoe at this layover in front of this sign that said, like what?
Well, like it's, I can't speak for Aaron Rodgers, obviously, because he's not returning my text. But I think that to your point, you're 100% correct, right? In that when Jordan Love got drafted, everybody, including myself, ran over to his contract and was like, what does Aaron Rodgers' contract look like? And is exactly what you said, is that it would be following this upcoming season. That's when he would likely be traded, right?
Right.
And Rodgers flat out said that he threw a wrench into people's plans because he won MVP.
Yeah.
And like, because, and I've said this a bunch of times on air, when the Packers went to the NFC Championship and got blown out against the 49ers, right? That season, first season under Matt LaFleur, Rodgers played well. Don't get me wrong. But Rodgers also missed throws. And Rodgers was still a great quarterback, but wasn't, and I keep using this term of like Rodgers-esque because he's set such a high standard that like, you know, it was like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of a dip. Phenomenal, Johnny. But at that point, though, you saw that, and Rodgers, because I did a whole breakdown of this, Rodgers that offseason, right before they drafted Jordan Love, flat out said, they can bring a quarterback in here, and I will beat that quarterback out. And so, like, there was kind of like that at least understanding that they might go and get a quarterback, right? They did. It is what it is. And Rodgers played like a monster and won MVP last year and played, you know, a fantastic season. So at this point now, the way that I'm looking at it is Rodgers goes, okay, well, you drafted this guy, nothing against Jordan Love, but you drafted this guy, basically giving me a 2-year window. I said, screw your 2-year window. And before you can get rid of me, I want to walk out on my own accord and like not give you that satisfaction.
Yeah. And I think like the other interesting thing I heard in terms of the contract he was offered, the 2-year extension. And again, this is through other people's podcasts. I think it was Wingo again, but they were essentially saying that they believed that the contract was heavily backloaded. So it was a bunch of new money, keeping Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay for the 5 years or whatever, making him the highest paid player. But the Packers could walk away from that contract easily. Mm-hmm. And that's what upset Aaron Rodgers, because it's not a real extension in that your organization has no repercussion to move on from you. So this is, and I think I've heard it a couple of times, Rodgers wants like the guaranteed money, right? So a team can't trade or move on from him. But like, again, like, I don't even know if that's true, because Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem like the type of guy to me who is worried about his play declining anytime soon.
Yeah.
He, like you said, just won the MVP. And in terms of like not being able to move on from him, money, he is in that situation right now. The Packers don't want to trade him because it would screw them financially this season and part of next season, and next season. So it's like, he's already, the guaranteed money's already super high, and it's already not easy to move away from him. So even like people projecting that, like, I'm not sure that has that much weight to it.
Like, that's the thing. Like, we can project like of like, oh, well, Aaron Rodgers must feel like, because remember, like a few months ago, it was all because of Jordan Love. And he flat out said, he's like, I have no problem with Jordan Love. Like, as an individual, like, you know, I help him. Like, they've talked to each other, they've communicated, like all that great stuff. And I think it's just a matter of, that's what people have done. They've spoken for Aaron Rodgers, not having any idea of what's actually going on, because there's that vacuum, right? Because there's that lack of information, because both camps are relatively staying quiet. And now we've kind of moved on from both camps staying quiet to now the retweets from the Woodleys, and now like the Last Dance posts. And I think like when that happened, if there was any sanity left in the fan base, they were like, I'm done now. Like, that's it. Like, that's my last straw, because a lot of people, including myself, honestly, like viewed it in one of two ways. Either one, it's just super passive aggressive, right? Or two, it's Rodgers' way of being like, let me stoke this media fire, and when I show up on Tuesday or next week or whenever, like, they're going to look like a bunch of idiots. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like there's not much room there, and either one of them is still like, how old are we? Like, it is. And I love Aaron Rodgers, but like, it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I saw that and I was like, oh, he's going back to Green Bay. Like, Adams is going to be there one more year. He's saying like he's not going to leave Devontae hanging. They're going to try one more year together because they don't have an option to get out. And like, I'm looking for reasons of why he won't be coming to the Broncos. And to me, I was like, if like I had to bet on it, if it meant something, it leans in my eyes to him returning to the Packers, because the Last Dance, losing the losing to get to the championship, not how Pippen and Jordan would do it, because they're like, no, they're meaning it was last year. Last season was their last dance. Yeah. You might have missed the point of that documentary, which was win at all costs.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like the Packers, if we're just looking at it from a practicality standpoint, the Packers are all in this year, in that in 2022, like our cap space is not going to be fun. Like we're $30 million over the cap scheduled for next year. There's a lot of contracts that are there. Zadarius Smith wants a new contract. We're going to have to give Jair Alexander a new contract. Devontae Adams, if we wind up re-signing him, wants to be paid the highest wide receiver in football kind of contract. And DeAndre Hopkins completely blew open that market. And then you have Aaron Rodgers, right? And so we've gotten to this point where the Devontae Adams contract is so linked to Aaron Rodgers, not only because they want to play together, but because you can't really give a guy, if they were even willing to, be the highest paid wide receiver in football without restructuring, trading, doing something with Aaron Rodgers.
You can, but you become the Dallas Cowboys and you don't have a defense.
And you just push the money all the way out.
Yeah. There's there's a trade-off for all of those.
Yeah. And the Packers, they don't roll like that. Fact that they were in cap trouble like this, they had to do a lot of finagling this offseason with Zadarius, Preston, they had to do all these things, and they made David Bakhtiari for a hot second the highest paid left tackle in the league. And
they took a financial hit last year. They're the only team where we get that public information about, and so money is probably a little more important to the Packers organization this year specifically, because last year, and I think all the NFL teams are fine, but in terms of what they were projecting versus what they actually were able to make was a lot less because they couldn't have fans at the games.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams make a decent amount of money from that. So it's financially, just even being in kind of a tight cap situation, it is harder now because of the COVID 2020. So, and nobody's really talked about that, but you got to have the financial flexibility, and some teams are in better positions like the Broncos are, because Von Miller's not on the books for the following season. They're not paying a quarterback yet. So they look like a financially smart and savvy team, but it's kind of just the luck of the timing where they'll have all this extra cap space right now. And they have been smart with, some of the people and players that they do sign. What I wanted to talk about too is Aaron Rodgers has the same agent that repped Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer famously retired. So they're using retirement as, I'm just not going to play. I'm calling it a retirement because then I don't have to play until you trade me, because you got to trade away the players' rights. You can't just retire and then go sign with whoever you want, or maybe that would already happen. The deal with Carson Palmer was he went from the Bengals to the Raiders in October. So it wasn't right away. It was in October.
Sure.
The Bengals got a first and second round pick. The Packers will get much more than that, in my opinion.
Yep.
Carson Palmer went to play for Hugh Jackson for a season, and then Hugh Jackson left and went to the Cincinnati Bengals, where Carson Palmer just was. The Raiders hired Dennis Allen. Did not work out well at all for Carson Palmer. And then he got traded to the Cardinals for a 6th rounder and a conditional pick. And the reason I bring this up is just to remind everybody how hard the Raiders got screwed on that deal. And also, Raiders been rumored to be a team Rodgers should go to. And
Monty Adams is a big one, that he's going to go to the Raiders. Because listen, I'm telling you, Carr is reaching out and is like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" Keenan Allen tweeting at him. He's like, "Come home, Tay." I'm like, "No."
So it's and then the Bengals went on to draft Drake Kirkpatrick and Giovanni Bernard.
Yes.
Two good players, but like that's the other thing. Like the Packers will get picks for Rodgers, but you could have a shit ton of picks for the next 2 years. Replacing him is impossible. You're not going to do it. You might find a good quarterback.
Sure.
I mean that just based on luck probability, you guys hitting on a third Hall of Famer in a row. That's never, ever been done.
And we already drafted him, so it's okay.
So, yeah, Jordan Love, Hall of Famer. It's just
easy.
Like, my point was that a lot of people like the Packers just got to capitalize on bringing the max value, getting the picks. They'll be able to, do something with it. That's not true. You're going to get the picks.
Yeah.
They're going to lose the financial leverage that they have. And it's not a home run to replace him. And on the flip side of that, Aaron Rodgers has to be very careful where he does go because there are a lot of teams out there that are worse than the Packers.
Very much
That's
so.
important. And I think Aaron Rodgers knows that. And I don't think what makes it hard is he's got to not just convince the Packers to trade him, who are angry that he wants to be traded, but convince them to trade him to the place he wants to go.
Correct. Like they could turn around and be like, sure, go to the Texans. Like, what I mean? Like, here you go. And Texans could be like, it's all right. We don't want to pick in the first round for the next decade. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like
we're keeping you and Deshaun, just so you know, Aaron.
Because that's the thing. Like Rodgers doesn't have a say on that at all. Like he doesn't get to say like, I don't want to go there. No, thank you. Like the Packers can field the best offer if they decide to do it afterwards. And then it's wherever they decide and wherever they're going to get the most value. And I think you're right. And I think one of the narratives that have come out from other fan bases, and this kind of like drives me insane, is like they haven't done enough to help Aaron Rodgers. And I think like that's a whole bunch of garbage because you look at people were talking about like, well, look at the defense. Well, once since 2011, I believe it was, we have drafted a first rounder who's always been on the defensive side of the ball. And the one time was Jordan Love. And like since 2011, that's a long time. It's always been a defender in the first round. Have we hit on all of them? Definitely not, because it'd be a different team. But to say that we haven't, and we've also drafted Devontae Adams, we've also drafted, Jordy Nelson, we also drafted Randall Cobb. Like we've drafted weapons for him. And on top of that, they paid David Bakhtiari the most amount of money for a left tackle. And so like they have a great left tackle. They drafted an offensive line so he doesn't get murdered back there. And they've been building up that defense. They went all in on free agency a few years ago when they got the Smith brothers in here, Adrian Amos, etc. They did all of that. So I think like to your point, yeah, you're 100% correct. There are a lot of teams that are a lot worse than the Green Bay Packers. And I'm kind of even curious at this point because when Tom Brady was leaving, and I think it was down to the Chargers and the Buccaneers, right? Like those were the final two teams.
Yeah.
I was like, he could do well with both of them because the Buccaneers have an amazing defense. And like the Chargers are an up and coming team too. They could do well. I don't even know what team he goes to. And then that year they can win a Super Bowl. Like, I know you're going to say the Broncos, but like.
Yeah. I'll say 2 years, just to be,
within two.
Fair.
Yeah.
But and every team looks good on paper right now too.
Yeah.
Broncos defense looks top 5, easy. Broncos got weapons that haven't been utilized because of
Drew Lock.
They played 4 different quarterbacks last year. Yeah. That'll screw up
one
your
was a
receivers. Yeah, and one was a receiver. And that's the thing, like there's a point people like to make is that the Packers never drafted Aaron Rodgers, a first round wide receiver talent, right? But when you have a quarterback as good as Aaron Rodgers, you can get better value second and third round for wide receivers who are going to be close to as good.
Sure.
When was Devontae Adams drafted? Second round.
Jordy Nelson, second round. Randall Cobb, second round. Yeah, no.
And out of all of those guys, Devontae Adams is the most talented.
He's a monster.
Like, he is a top 3 receiver in the league. At least he was last year, when he can stay healthy.
Yeah. He missed games and was still like the leading receiver. Like that's how good he was last year.
Yeah. He's like the type of guy defensive backs are like, that guy's the best. Like, that's what I love during the season is paying attention to which defensive backs are like, I hate covering that guy or like that guy.
Yep.
And
Jalen Ramsey threw a fit in the end zone during the divisional round because he got juked so bad.
Yeah.
Like so bad. He's like pouting and slamming things down in the end zone. Yeah, not here.
So, and they eventually found really solid running back help with Aaron Jones, and they couldn't keep both him and Williams, but that was like a solid duo. They got the replacement in AJ Dillon. So it's like in the Packers drafting, not as bad as it's been made out to be. The real issue is probably not finding more dynamic defensive talent early. But like when you don't have a quarterback, all of your draft picks look bad all the time. Like,
so because then the focus is like, okay, we know our quarterback is terrible, but why are you terrible? Like, why is this position bad and this position bad? It's
the top domino that affects everything. So they haven't had to do that because they have Rodgers. He makes every receiver who plays with him better. And I mean, it's another kind of like false narrative, but at this point, it's like, where could he go that maybe there is that extra piece or two there? They even gave him a new coach. They got him a coach
who he likes. He likes Matt LaFleur. Like, there's never been a word about Matt LaFleur that's been negative, honestly, from like any of the players, because he came in there and was like, let's play. And they went back-to-back 13-3 seasons and back-to-back NFC championship games. Like,
And you brought up the 49ers championship game, and maybe Rodgers missing some passes there. Raheem Mostert rushed for over 200 yards against the defense. I think they agree, or the 49ers had like 285 or something. Mostert had 4 rushing touchdowns. And when that happens, what you will start to notice when your great quarterback misses a few throws.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like,
because that's all we're doing is, we're down 21. We need to just throw the ball and that's it.
I've spent Peyton Manning's final season. I was making up excuses for all of his bad throws. Then comes in Trevor Siemian, who is actually, he's better than he gets credit for. There's Paxton Lynch. There's Brock Osweiler. Every game, I was like, if he would just make these 3 throws, these 2 throws, that's a victory.
We win.
But it's hard when your defense betrays you at that in that game. So I wouldn't blame Rodgers for that loss. And the reason I mentioned that is because I started to look into Rodgers being the most cursed quarterback in postseason history to try and do a video about the Aaron Rodgers championship curse. And I was like, oh man, outplayed the opposing quarterback 3 of the 4 times he lost. And the one guy who played better than him was Matt Ryan. And you can blame the defense for that because, Ryan just threw for like 400 yards and
45 points or some crazy thing like that.
I was like, it's a reminder about like the NFL being such a team sport, because I think Rodgers has been the best quarterback of the last decade in terms of, if you just take the last 10 years, the chunk of work, nobody's been as consistent as he has been, as good. Like, he just does so many things you don't even fucking know about. His arm talent, his mobility, his reading the defense. Like, but finding that perfect team, getting those lucky breaks, you need all of those things. And how the Patriots managed to do that so many times, I don't know. It's just it's 1 or 2 plays could be the difference in 2 Super Bowls appearances for Rodgers.
I mean, you had 2014. You have the run the table, like against the Falcons. I didn't think that was going to happen. Against the 49ers, I didn't think it was going to happen. Like, because those games were like decisive, right? But you look at like the Seahawks game, which was the thing that started this whole debacle. And then you look at last year. If Kevin King is able to stop them before halftime, maybe it's a different game. I mean, and that's the thing too that I'll also mention. If you look at the defenses between the championship game against the 49ers and the championship against the Buccaneers, like, they got 3 interceptions this year. Like, they
should have 4
3 times.
So there's one dropped pick right before the half that would have stopped the touchdown that Brady threw. Aaron Jones fumbles in that game, highly uncharacteristic of him as a running back. And usually you separate the great quarterbacks from the average ones by saying like, oh yeah, that quarterback, even with the diversity, kept the team alive and kept it. Like Rodgers did that. It just didn't work out again for him.
Sure.
So like, even if he's just feels disrespected by the organization, the team has been there. The team has been close.
Sure.
Except for, I feel like the Packers defense, even when they went up against the 49ers, they weren't as bad as that game. The 49ers were just their kryptonite that year. Like, they just couldn't stop their run. Like, there was a weakness in Kyle Shanahan exploited it, right? But overall, pretty good team usually for the Packers. And I don't know if there's many places that will put that consistency around him, unless you believe that the quarterback brings that consistency.
Yeah, I think
yes, but
I think it's both. I mean, like we won't do the Tom Brady thing, but like you look at like the defenses that Brady has had, like it's helped. Like you can't say that it hasn't, right?
Of course.
Yeah, it's definitely helped. But I think like now as we get closer to training camp, there's two things that stand out to me. One, the fact that him and David Bakhtiari are working out together and posting pictures on Instagram too, because those are the Instagram posts that are not being talked about a whole lot, because like that goes against the narrative that like, oh my God, is he going to show up or not? Because again,
he might be sexually harassing him by the way he pantsed him.
Yeah, that is very true.
That could be an issue.
That's a different conversation. But at this point, like I feel there's so much in the air. I think that this Last Dance kind of like title or moniker is somewhat accurate for this coming season, because now that everything is transpired, just from what we know, my opinion is this is probably the last season that, unless something drastically changes, that you're going to see Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams on the same, in the same Packers uniform.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Now, there was a report that came out that you and I talked about right before the show too, about like, how he was going to get, what was it? Like 2 years, $90 million. And it was going to be like 45 guaranteed. And that I saw how many people retweeted that and what the headline was of like, oh, Rodgers wants this, which wasn't the story at all. Like, because if you open the article, it was basically just saying a team thinks that he could command that.
Right.
So 2 questions for you. So one, would you, as a Broncos fan, would you give the guy 2 years, $90 million guaranteed? Brandon's like, just throw all the money. I really don't care.
Oh yeah.
One, and then 2, do you think Rodgers shows up this week?
Yes, I give him the money. Because if the Kansas City Chiefs have taught me anything, it is not real.
It's just print it.
And I think George Payton's the right guy to navigate it moving forward. A lot of young players too in Denver, so they can actually afford it. Like they can legitimately afford that. Does he show up this week? Man, yeah, I think he does. But my podcast co-host for the That's Good Broncos podcast, Will Keys, usually a more practical guy than me, doesn't think he's going to show up. So then I'm like, well, if Will's saying that, like, why am I the crazy one thinking that he's like, I thought him showing up is the practical, notion.
Sure.
I think it's a lot of money to forfeit.
$50,000 a day.
I think you could show up and still make your point that you want to be traded
and just not do much. Like you could show up and not get fined and like,
just, but Rodgers wouldn't do that to his teammates. He would not show up and half-ass it. Like he legitimately likes his teammates. Like,
correct.
He's posting with David Bakhtiari. He likes hanging out with him. Part of the problem is he really liked Corey Linsley too, right? Like they were friends. Like losing him pissed him off.
Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb,
and of course, old Kumaro.
Oh, Jake Kumaro, touchdown, Jesus. Yep. And that's one of the things that's been highlighted too. That's what James Jones said a while ago, that like it's not necessarily who the Packers are drafting, it's who they're letting leave. Yeah. Right? It's like the fact that you let Jordy Nelson go off to the Raiders, and it's the fact that you let Randall Cobb leave and go to the Cowboys. Like those are some of the things. And this is where like I get it from a personnel standpoint of like, these are people I think can help the team. I play with them. Like, they make our team better. And then from like a macro level, like you can't keep everybody. Like the Packers have a lot of talented guys on this squad right now, right? And they had to choose, who are we going to bring back and who are we not going to bring back? And to their credit, They found a way to bring back almost everybody except their all-pro center, but they kept their all-pro left tackle and their HB2, which was Jamal Williams. They kept everybody else. They re-signed Aaron Jones. They re-signed David Bakhtiari. They re-signed Kenny Clark. Like those are massive, massive contracts. And like the Packers kind of like have this issue right now where there's so many people who want to get paid and honestly deserve to get paid, but you can't do it for everybody.
Yeah.
Like
unless you're the Chiefs.
Unless you're the Chiefs. Then you can just pay everyone. Except Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins, they're like, we'll let you go, buddy. He's like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's like, what did I do?
Going fast. We're keeping everybody else.
So like we're gonna lose about $30 million off the books when Frank Clark goes to jail. So salary cap's looking great for us.
They're like, we're just banking on that, and we will be fine.
And what happened to the Chiefs? They got their asses handed to them in the Super Bowl because of a few things out of like injuries. Like they just like wrong time for injuries.
Yep.
I don't think it's like. That happens a couple times. Mahomes is in a 10-year deal. You know what I mean? Like, if he's unhappy, what can he do to get out of there?
Yeah. And again, I think the problem is, and it's happening even in the chat right this second, as we have nearly 3,000 people total watching both of our streams. Like, I think it's a matter of like you don't have to pick a side. Like, and you could think that this is just a stupid, crappy situation, and you just want to watch some football. Like, I can't wait for training camp to start and Rodgers like comes back or like he says, I'm not coming back just so it's over. Like, just so I can be like, great, let's focus on football now. Because like this, when I have to start analyzing cryptic tweets and retweets and Instagram stories, that's where I'm like, okay.
Yeah, let me check to see if there are any cryptic ones going out right now.
I don't know. Has he posted a new story since we've been live? He might have.
I don't like. There's
some good potential.
Marlon Humphrey wants Chandler Jones to go to the Ravens.
No. Oh, yeah, that's it. Like they're like, oh, Chandler Jones wants. Like all these people want to leave. We're like, who cares? It's not the Packers.
Marlon Humphrey, good Twitter follow if anybody's wondering.
Okay, that's a good thing to know.
Oh god. Barry McGockiner got some fake Patrick Mahomes news trending there.
Fantastic.
No cryptic tweets for you to try to.
I follow both Devontae Adams. Hold on, let's see. I just want to make sure on Instagram. Let's see what we're looking at. No, okay. There's nothing. So we're okay. We're okay. We're good. So yeah, I think at this point though, like I'm ready to just see how it all unfolds, and I think that my gut is saying Rodgers comes back, they play this one more year, and then after that, who knows? I think honestly after that, like you could start to see some people, like there's going to be cap casualties next year. I know the cap's supposed to go up and 100%, but even with it's expecting to increase, there's going to be cap casualties. You're looking at like a Zadarius and Preston Smith. You're looking at potentially Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. And one of the big problems is, especially at wide receiver, we don't have a lot. We've got Amari Rodgers, but like MVS, EQ, Allen Lazard, all their contracts are up this year. And who do you give a massive contract to? MVS has looked better, but are any of those guys like wide receiver one? But do you need a wide receiver one? Because we have a bunch of tight ends. Like these are questions for next year, and I will worry about them next year. But there's a lot up in the air, and I'm just ready to focus on this year, regardless of who's at quarterback. And I hope it's Aaron Rodgers. I do hope it is.
I mean, I feel like it will be, but again, if Rodgers really is done there, he could play the retirement card. It's the only card he has left at this point. Don't know how effective it would be. And I don't even know if Green Bay would actually trade him before the trade deadline. I mean,
they have no incentive. If they say retire, okay, give us a crap ton of money. Yes, will they not get it's opportunity cost, right? It's like we could get all that perceived value. We get 3 first-round picks or whatever. We could get that, yes. Or we get a whole bunch of money because you're retired, and we're going to be super petty about it too. I don't care. Like these are grown ass people. Talk it out or don't, and that's it. That's it.
I just like to think that if I were in that relationship and somebody told me they wanted out, I wouldn't hold them prisoner. I mean, the Packers are basically wardens of a prison at this point, Tom. And I don't know how you can support that with the kind heart I know you have.
Are you saying that Aaron Rodgers is Andy Dufresne and he is going to like over his entire season, he's just been chiseling through the wall with a rock hammer?
And no, that was last season. Now he's ready to crawl through the tunnel.
Now he's had to crawl through a mile.
Get to the Rocky Mountains, baby.
I'm out clean on the other side.
Man. Yep. I think we rehashed it.
I think we did a good job. I think we did at least an adequate job.
Yes.
At least an adequate. So
I'm gonna see.
And guess what? We'll wait until next season when this becomes an issue again, and then it'll be all a speculation on where is Aaron Rodgers going to go to.
Yeah, I almost because when I texted to see if you wanted to do the live stream, I almost texted you that at this point it's going to be more hilarious if Rodgers just shows up Tuesday because all of the rumors have been so ridiculous. But I did not want to put it in writing that it would be funny if I didn't get Aaron Rodgers, so I didn't text it to you.
I think
that's how superstitious I am at this point.
I get you. I think the funniest thing would be is if he shows up and he plays and he's like, "There's no problem." Like, what are you talking about? Like, if he's like, "What are you talking about?" I never said anything. He's just like, I thought, like, we had a little bit of a tiff. But no, we're fine now. We talked about it. They flew out. It was nice. We went out for mimosas. Like we're fine now. Like I would die laughing if that was it. I also would be like furious, but I would die laughing. So yeah, it just goes on. And he's like, no, it's been fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it'll if he shows up, it'll definitely be his last season with Green Bay, and next offseason will be wild because I think Green Bay would compromise at that point to say, yeah, this is when we can move on from you and we can still get, draft picks.
Now,
and also one question I had for you, did the Packers tell him that they were going to trade him and then didn't?
No.
That was never made up information.
It was literally made up. Yeah, that was draft night. It was made up. And Goody was like, that never happened. Like never, ever happened. And I will say something too, that people are also not saying a lot of. All of this, like, we'll trade him is only going to happen if one of two things happens. One, Jordan Love is ready. If Jordan Love is not ready and Aaron Rodgers is still paying MVP-like level, they're not going to trade him because they simply don't have to.
Yeah. I think they believe too that Rodgers won't sit out and retire because he's too competitive.
Correct.
I think if you paid attention to him through the match and the golf shit, he seems like a guy who is just as excited as he's ever been to continue playing in the NFL. I think he feels like he's figured it out. It's obviously mentally he has it, but I think for how he can manage his body at this age and play into his 40s, like he's said he's wanted to do for a long time. I think he believes that. So if that's true, then he won't simply retire and give it all up because there's too much of that. I got to get back to the Super Bowl at least one time because I am the best damn quarterback in the league. I have the MVP to prove it. And that's why I think he will return. I think that the compromise is they let him go after this season. And to answer your question, when Jordan Love is ready might be never.
And if that's the case,
but I base that off of one time he threw some bad practice passes.
Oh my God. I honestly can't wait for the preseason. And I mean this in all sincerity because this has been so ridiculous. I can't wait for Love to throw a touchdown and or an interception and just the fan base go, oh my God, he's a new Hall of Famer, or oh my God, he's so trash, because we're going to get both.
Oh yeah.
Because it was that practice, in OTAs, he had an abysmal practice and everyone was like, I told you he's garbage. And then the next day he went out and lit it up and everyone was like, I don't know. We got to see. We have to wait and see.
And a little bit of a warning. You mentioned seeing Packers fans divide and turn on each other.
Yeah.
That happens when your team starts to play poorly. When things are great, everybody gets along.
Everyone
on Twitter.
The
things they're arguing about is who they think is better. They're like, no, this guy's better. No, this guy's better. They start playing bad. They're like, you're an idiot if you think Paxton Lynch should be quarterback over Trevor Siemian. I remember arguing with people about Siemian and Lynch Like, you're not a
Two Hall
Broncos
of
fan
Famers.
if you think this guy's the better one. Whoa.
Listen, I remember very vividly in 2018, Lambeau being filled with booze. Like when they lost to the Cardinals and Mike McCarthy got fired, like they were booing in Lambeau. When they got destroyed by the Lions in that last game, they were getting booed at Lambeau. So
is that when Rodgers was out, when he was hurt?
No, that was that was after the run the table season. So that was like the 2017 one. So yeah, the 2018 one is when the Bears were really good and like he got hurt in that first game and he played with like an injury all year, but that's when McCarthy got fired. So yeah. So listen, all I'm saying is like I'm excited just to watch football, and I think Rodgers is still going to tear it up this year. You know, they have some new weapons, they have some new personnel that's in there. I think the Packers will still be very good with Aaron Rodgers, even though they have a very tough schedule. You know, and then after that, honestly, I have no idea.
The one thing the Packers have is consistency returning this season too. Like, it's maybe like one of the most underrated things you can have is pretty much your whole roster coming back. Sure, there's some flaws there. Yeah, I would love to see Kevin King rectify himself in the playoffs. Like, that would be a great story. But we'll see.
Or Eric Stokes can just take over. That's fine too.
If Rodgers stays in Green Bay, let me tell you, Drew Lock, biggest fan right here. Biggest Drew Lock fan you've ever fucking seen in your life right here, baby.
That's it. Until you get Aaron Rodgers, and then you're like, who?
Yep. Who? Horsecock Lock.
Never heard of him. Yeah, you just throw out all your shirts. You burn them.
I got Horsecock Lock shirts to sell again, so I'll be back on that.
You're like, hey, you gotta move that product, buddy. You just gotta hype him up in these next few weeks. Like, he has to throw like one touchdown in practice and be like, see, he's the chosen one, just so you move that merch.
Yeah, and I mean, Drew Lock's a good example of a guy who's not as bad as everybody wants to make him out to be, but he hasn't been as good as we were sort of saying he was.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's all right. We had that with Brett Huntley.
Holy crap.
No. What happened?
Your little pizza thing.
What happened?
We just got some pizza. We got some pizza delivered at our house.
Oh, during the stream? Yeah. I
Was
just had
that you?
sushi. Yep. No, it was not me. I had sushi delivered to me during the stream and another delivery during the stream. So now someone has both our addresses. Isn't that great? Isn't this like super exciting?
Now I regret saying sorry, pretending like it was me sending you the fake things.
Yeah. Yep. Literally, like the dogs were going nuts. And like, yeah, someone delivered sushi and then someone delivered something else. So yeah. So they got you too, huh? Isn't it so nice to know that like your address like can just be paid for on the internet?
Yeah, that's not cool.
I have a link to send you afterwards because like Scooter and I had a conversation, so I'm going to send that link to you.
Thank you. Please do.
But folks, let's leave that off here. Don't be a piece of garbage, and because it's not paid for, by the way. So like these people are going out; these are minimum wage people who are missing out on tips and wasting time and energy and resources. And it's super uncomfortable to send like food to strangers. So don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy or girl.
We got to pay for it because if you don't, you're screwing over the business.
That is correct. Perna, it's been a pleasure, buddy.
It was great talking to you, Tom. We'll see what happens Tuesday.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for watching, folks.
See you guys.
I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon frickin' frackin' Perna. And as always,
Posse, that's good sport.